My name's Makoto Naegi.
Sayaka Maizono.
Leon Kuwata.
Chihiro Fujizaki.
Kiyotaka Ishimaru.
Kyoko Kirigiri. Celestia Ludenberg.
I am Monokuma!
Byakuya Togami.
Togo Fukawa.
Mondo Owada.
And Fumi Yamada.
Aoi Asahina.
Sakura Ogami.
Yasuhiro Hagakure.
Junko Enoshima.
Now then, let's get things rolling!
Well, here's one thing we do know. The first time we found Hifumi's body was in the nurse's office. And then, while me and Celeste were in the bathroom, his body disappeared.
And the next time we saw his body, it was in the repository.
But when you compare his body before being moved and his body after being moved, other than the change in how it was positioned, there was no notable difference.
No, that's wrong! In fact, there was one clear difference between Hifumi in the nurse's office and the repository. His glasses. That fact alone proves that he was only playing dead in the beginning.
Perhaps you'd like to fill the rest of us in?
When we found Hifumi in the nurse's office, his glasses were covered with blood. But when we found him again later in the repository, they were spotless. And I found the item he used to wipe them clean in the nurse's office trash can. The evidence I found in the trash can in the nurse's office was... I got it! It was a glasses cleaning cloth featuring a certain cartoon mascot. One look at the blood stain on the cloth should make things clear. This piece of cloth was used to wipe Hifumi's glasses clean. And the mascot that's on the cloth is the same one that's on the digital camera, right? And whose digital camera was it? Hifumi's, of course.
The character was Princess Pickles from Demon Angel Pretty Pudgy Princess, I think.
I highly doubt anyone but Hifumi would have brought something like this to school.
I see your point. And the only people here who wear glasses are...
I wouldn't be caught dead using a tacky piece of garbage like that.
A few tissues is all I need to keep my glasses clean.
Then there's no question. It belonged to Hifumi.
So what you're saying is... what exactly?
What I'm saying is, the blood on his glasses was wiped away using his own glasses cleaning cloth.
Even if that is true, it does not mean he wiped the blood off himself.
But who would benefit from a clean pair of glasses, other than the glasses' owner?
That's a good point.
Then it must have been him, right?
So, let's assume that Hifumi was still alive in the nurse's office. He pretends to be dead, then when he's alone, he wipes his glasses clean so he can see. Then he stands up and walks out on his own 2 feet. And with that, the impossible task of moving his copious corpse becomes possible, wouldn't you say?
But then, if he was just pretending to be dead, what was with all that blood? Was it paint or something?
The fridge in the nurse's office contains packs of blood for emergencies. He probably used one of those.
He figured if he was gonna play dead, he should go all out, so he just dumped it everywhere. But he got crazy with it and had to wipe his glasses off when he was done. God, what an idiot!
And if Hifumi was still alive at that point, the disappearance of Taka's body is easily explained. It should be perfectly obvious who must have moved Taka's corpse.
The one who moved Taka's body was... I got it! It could only have been Hifumi.
While we were all gathered in the nurse's office, he went to the equipment room and took Taka's body.
That also explains how the door to the repository got locked.
The door was locked?
Well, after the bodies disappeared, we all went looking for them, right? So me and Sakura headed for the repository. But when we got there, the door was locked.
And the repository door can only be locked from the inside. Which means, when Hina and Sakura got to the repository, someone was already inside.
And it could only have been Hifumi, who just finished stashing Taka's body there.
He convinced us all he was dead, and when he saw his chance, he dragged Taka's body to the repository. So, Hifumi wasn't just another victim in this case. He was one of the assailants.
But that means he took part in the murders.
I just can't believe it.
If you're having trouble, would you like me to show you one more piece of evidence?
There's more?
Oh, absolutely. The single biggest fact pointing to his involvement has yet to be revealed. You know what I'm talking about, right, Makoto? The item he took off of Taka's lifeless body?
The thing that Hifumi stole from Taka. Could it be... I got it! You're talking about the note Hifumi had hidden away, aren't you?
Hidden note?
That's right. We found it stuffed in his pants.
What? In his...
Pants?
Yes, his pants.
Okay, well, forget about the pants for now. Take a look at what the note says. I found a hole maybe we can use to escape. Monokuma can't find out, so don't tell anyone else for now. Let's meet in the equipment room at 6 a.m.
Ah, that's the note I was telling you about. The one that told me where to go. Huh? Wait, this one's a little different. In my note it said, Monokuma can't find out, so don't tell anyone else for now. Let's meet in the rec room at 1 a.m.
I see. Then this note isn't the same one Hiro got.
It's not the same?
In other words, the killer got in touch with another person besides Hiro. And that person could only have been... I got it! That's right! Taka! The killer used this note to draw Taka and murder him!
Hello? Over here! Objection! Objection! I don't really understand what's going on, but Hifumi had that letter, right? So whoever wrote it wasn't drawing out TikTok, they were drawing out Huffy!
Just to be clear, TikTok is Taka and Huffy is Hifumi, right?
Ugh, yes! Why must you ruin it every time?
Man, Genocide Jack is seriously scary, but still, I can't let her get to me.
Huffy had the note, right? And the person it was intended for must have been Huffy!
But remember what the note said. What time did it say to meet?
6 a.m., I believe.
The time doesn't matter! The note has nothing to do with TikTok!
No, that's wrong! No, there absolutely is a connection.
What the hell are you talking about?
The note said to meet at 6 a.m., which is the same time Taka was murdered. We've already proven that using his wristwatch. But there's more. Look where the note says to meet. The equipment room, right?
Which is where Taka was killed. I see.
So Taka was murdered at both the time and place written in the note. I think that should be plenty to show that this note was definitely meant for Taka.
Well, when you put it like that... No further objections!
Then someone used that note to trick Taka just the same as me. The culprit really is a cold-blooded monster, telling people they'd found a way out.
But if they gave the note to Taka, what was Hifumi doing with it?
Stuffed down his pants, no less!
Most likely, Hifumi stole it off Taka's corpse after he died.
Huh? He stole it?
Where's your proof? Go ahead, show us.
Proof that Hifumi stole the note from Taka. I got it! When I searched Taka's body, I saw that his lifeless hand was gripping a small scrap of paper. If I'm right about this, the sheet of paper this piece came from is... I knew it! It fits perfectly with the note we found hidden on Hifumi.
Then Taka's scrap and Hifumi's note...
Yup, they're from the same piece of paper.
Hifumi had the note meant for Taka, while Taka's corpse still grasped a small piece of that note. There's only one way to explain it.
Taka died clutching the note. Hifumi tried to free the note from his death grip, leaving behind only one small scrap. Did I get all that right?
That means Hifumi knew the note was important.
Exactly, which proves that he was an accomplice in the murder.
Whoa! Yeah, after seeing all this, Hifumi was super involved in this whole thing for sure. In fact, he was behind the whole thing. In fact, he's still alive!
Sorry, no. When we found him in the repository, Hifumi was truly and completely dead. The second body discovery announcement proves that.
So then, who killed Hifumi?
Whoever did is the mastermind, the true killer.
He was killed in the repository, so he must have been killed not long after transporting Taka's body.
So he must have been killed after Taka's body vanished, but before we found both bodies in the repository.
During that time, we'd all split up and were searching for Taka's missing body. In other words, during that time, none of us have alibis.
Wait! But me and Sakura were together!
Stop trying to steal the spotlight, you stupid walrus!
Who are you calling a walrus?
Anyway, when they were killed bothers me too, but there's something that's been bothering me even more.
And what might that be?
The weapon they used to kill Hifumi.
The weapon?
Yeah, according to the Monokuma file, the way Taka and Hifumi were killed was almost the same, with them having similar fractures and all. But Justice Hammer 3 and 4 were still laying around in the nurse's office and equipment room, right? So if Hifumi was killed in the repository, the culprit would have had to grab one of the hammers, kill Hifumi, then put the hammer back where they found it. But wouldn't that be seriously risky for him?
I'm surprised. It seems there's some semblance of a brain knocking around that skull of yours after all.
Hell yeah, it's packed in there good and tight.
He's right, though. I don't understand it either. The Monokuma file makes it clear that they were killed using similar instruments. But if the hammers were already laying around those other rooms,
So the question is, how could the culprit have gotten their hands on either of the hammers? Personally, I haven't a clue.
So which hammer was used to attack Celeste? Number 1 or number 2?
Those were accounted for in other rooms too, and I don't think either one of them is big enough to kill someone.
Then,
Is it not possible they used a different weapon?
I don't think it is possible. They were both killed with the same kind of thing, right?
So then, what was used to kill Hifumi?
The weapon that was actually used to kill Hifumi. The whole picture surrounding this case won't become clear until we figure that out. Somehow, I have to find the truth!
What was used to kill Hifumi? Was it Justice Hammer 3? Maybe Justice Hammer 4?
Well, whatever it was. There's one thing we have to figure out. How was the culprit able to move around so freely with the weapon? How did nobody witness them carrying it?
Sounds like a Justice Hammer 5 is about to make its appearance! Check out murdergear.com/hammertime for more info!
Well, one thing seems pretty clear. The murder weapon had to be one of the Justice Hammers.
No, that's wrong! The murder weapon wasn't a Justice Hammer at all. No, it was something completely different.
But, seriously? A different weapon?
Specifically, a hammer from the repository. The killer could have easily used that to kill Hifumi. Now, all the hammers in the repository were covered in flecks of grit and debris. But for some reason, one of them had been scrubbed clean.
Huh?
And the reason it had been scrubbed clean was most likely because it was used to commit murder. If the hammer got covered in Hifumi's blood, of course they'd have to clean it off. I'd also like to point out that the repository has all kinds of hammers. Big ones, small ones, and even some flat mallet-like ones. I think whoever made the Justice Hammers used those as a basis for the design.
If that's true, that would explain the Monokuma file's note about the wounds being similar.
So Hifumi moved Taka's body to the repository, where someone then used a hammer to kill him.
And whoever did that is the true killer. The one Hifumi was working with, and the one who betrayed him.
Hold on a moment. I still think it's strange to assume someone was working together with him. The way the graduation rule works, there is no benefit to helping someone else carry out a murder. So the idea that anyone would work together like that is simply ludicrous. We talked about this, did we not?
We did talk about how there wouldn't be any reason for anyone to work together. At least, that's what we thought at first, but...
Based on the rules that have been laid out for us, even if more than one person is complicit in the murder, only the one who actually carried out the act can graduate and survive. Assuming the rule holds true, it is simply impossible that two people work together.
No, that's wrong! Since there were two murders, it's at least plausible that more than one person was involved.
What do you mean?
If there'd only been one murder, then yes, the idea of an accomplice isn't really worth considering. Naturally, if only one person can be saved per murder, an accomplice has no risk versus reward benefit.
Risk versus reward benefit?
The payoff for working together. The reward that balances out the risk of taking part in the scheme. There's no point in being someone's accomplice if there's no benefit to you. However, if there were some potential mutual reward for the risk, then cooperation becomes possible.
You're saying that two people could act as each other's accomplices to commit two separate murders.
I think that's what the true killer told Hifumi. They would each have an accomplice for their crime. And based on the case's events, Hifumi would have been the first one to act, murdering Taka. They made him carry out the first murder, so he couldn't back out of helping them later on.
So in this case, there wasn't one single person committing multiple murders. Instead, each person killed someone, creating two separate incidents. And it only looked like one person because that's how the true killer designed it to look. A single suspicious individual, a similar weapon used in each crime, disappearing bodies. By creating one seamless set of circumstances, they made it look like one person was behind it all!
The mastermind picked their target and managed to convince him to go along with their plan. And then, to avoid the no accomplices rule, they simply killed their accomplice. Which, if true, means that betraying Hifumi was part of the plan from the very beginning.
That's just awful! How could anyone be so cruel?
You think so? I can't help but admire its cunning. Still, their choice of accomplice seems odd.
The effort made to convince us the two murders were the same. That was the main characteristic this time. Kyoko must have noticed that fact from the very beginning. Which is why she said not to look at this as a series of connected events, but entirely separate incidents. Kyoko really is amazing. Although, when you think about it, she's almost too amazing. Like, it's almost unnatural how good she is at this.
I understand how an accomplice could be involved, but then who was the one pulling Hifumi's strings?
That's problem numero uno right now!
The true killer manipulated Hifumi to carry out a number of actions, and in the end, murdered him. In the debates up till now, the way the case is unfolded, when you consider all that, there's really only one person who seems to fit. Here's my answer! It was Celeste.
Ah, so I am the suspicious individual now, am I? I really do hate this kind of joke.
A joke? I wonder.
So what you are saying then, is that I specifically chose to work together with Hifumi. The idea that I would choose to spend any amount of time interacting with him. That I would go within 10 feet of that shit for brains, that lazy, worthless goddamn idiot! Pardonnez-moi.
Just to be clear, there is evidence to support it.
Is that so?
It is. Throughout the investigation, there was certain behavior that was common only to the two of you. Considering what we've learned so far, it only further proves that the two of you were working together.
What it is that only Hifumi and Celeste had in common. I got it! The behavior they had in common has to do with the suspicious individual in the suit, doesn't it? The only ones who ever actually saw Robo-Justice firsthand were Celeste and Hifumi.
Shush. The adults are talking now.
Sorry.
As he said, only Celeste and Hifumi ever laid eyes on the costume individual. If we accept that Hifumi was one of the culprits, we can't help but suspect what Celeste has said as well.
Are you saying everything they told us was a lie?
After taking Hifumi to the nurse's office, we all began our search for this individual, correct? And not too long after that, do you remember what Celeste said?
I saw a shadow. Something moving around at the top of the stairs.
We headed to the second floor specifically because of what she claimed to have seen. Next, to draw us all to the physics lab up on the third floor.
She let out a blood-curdling scream.
And when we'd all come to see what was wrong, what was it she said?
Celeste, what's wrong?
That was a rather intense scream for someone like you.
I saw him, the strange costumed man. He ran off as soon as I screamed. I was blocking the stairs, so he headed further down into the hallway and disappeared.
Once she'd done her job of getting us all up to the physics lab, it was time for her partner to get to work.
Huh?
Well, what was that?
That came from downstairs. It must have been...
Hifumi! He's in the nurse's office! This is bad! Come on, we have to go back!
It was to get us to divide into 2 groups, so that we would discover both bodies at the same time?
In fact, Celeste was precisely the one who proposed that we split up.
Then why don't we split up into 2 groups?
I'll lead the hunting party. That seems much more interesting.
Very well. Then Makoto and Hina, you come with me to the nurse's office. I will leave the capture of the suspicious individual to Toko, Byakuya, and Sakura.
Well, if Celeste and Hifumi were working together, all those chance events suddenly become connected. And on top of that piercing cry of yours early on, that was to signal Hifumi, wasn't it? It was your way of telling him, we're on the 3rd floor, everything's going according to plan. Why else would you let out a scream that could have carried across the sea?
I just realized another strange thing. When we found Hifumi in the nurse's office, who we now know was only pretending to be dead,
I certainly was not expecting this. I did not imagine that Hifumi would be murdered.
Celeste, you were the first one to say he'd been murdered. You wanted to make sure we wouldn't have any doubt in our minds.
I don't believe it. Everything. The whole thing was one big act.
Hina, you were with Celeste when Hifumi's body disappeared, right?
Yeah. I was feeling kinda sick, so Celeste took me to the bathroom. Wait! Then that was...
She wasn't worried about you. She just saw a chance to help Hifumi sneak out of the nurse's office.
Each piece isn't much by itself, but start putting them together and the picture gets very ugly indeed. Wouldn't you agree, Celeste?
I have no idea what you mean.
Don't bother trying to deny it. You made one fatal mistake.
Oh, did I?
I didn't even catch it myself when you first said it, but looking back, I can say that one little slip-up was your undoing.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about what you said after Hifumi's body disappeared and we returned to the nurse's office.
They must really be enjoying this. Enjoying the sight of us standing around, frightened and confused. We're all going to die here. They're going to die, just like those guys died.
I remember her saying that too, but I don't understand what's so strange about it.
Then pay attention. Sakura, Toko, and I were first to discover Taka's body in the equipment room. Then Makoto showed up and told us Hifumi had been killed, so Sakura and I left with Makoto. Once we were in the hall, we ran into Celeste, and the 4 of us headed to the nurse's office. Now, the entire time we were together, none of us said anything about Taka being dead. Think about it. Celeste's comment doesn't make sense. It was completely out of place.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about. Although I don't really get what it means.
You hear that, Celeste? Everyone's having some trouble understanding. Could you repeat what you said? If you're really not the culprit, you shouldn't have any problem repeating it, right?
Byakuya said that Celestia's comment doesn't make sense. But what is he alluding to?